Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to our YouTube live this evening. Do feel free to say hello in the chat. Do let me know if you can hear me as well. A big welcome to you all. I hope that you're well and I do hope that you've had a lovely week. For those of you that don't know us, we are Sucked Along. We are an online English school 100% funded by CPF. You can find out more about us via our website and also our Instagram page by typing in Sucked Along into the search box. This is our second series. We're doing series now of important things to know in English to help you feel confident and ready for any English scenario. And this is our series of English conversation, and we're going to be going through some of the most useful English conversation scenarios for you. And this is number 4 in our series of English conversation, in which we'll be discussing the very important and delicious topic of food. In English, of course, a central topic for many of us, whether it's going to order at a cafe, a restaurant, or even talking about food at a dinner party or with our friends and family. So in part 1, we're going to be exploring some of the major food groups and different types of food, common foods that we find in English. We'll then look at some ways in which we can describe foods, such as adjectives like spicy, fiery, hot, or cold. And then we're going to be practicing some comparatives and superlatives as well when it comes to describing our food. In part 2, we're going to practice some restaurant vocabulary and how to order food in English. So we're going to watch a video on how to order effectively, and we'll be analysing some of the vocabulary and key phrases from that. And then we'll be joined by a new star guest this evening. I am very happy to announce that we've got Fanny joining us, and she's going to be talking about her favourite foods and also playing a little game with us. And then in part 3, we're going to do a small recap of everything that we learnt, and I'll be putting your knowledge to the test. Before we dive into the content this evening, I would love you all to see Fanny and to give her the opportunity to also present herself to you quickly. Hi Fanny, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Hi Lily, hi everyone. So thank you for having me today. My name is Fanny. I'm a student success manager at the Cercle des Langues, and I'm really happy to be with you today because I love eating, I love food, so it will be a pleasure for me.
Excellent, great. We will invite Fanny a bit later when we're going to talk about her favourite foods and also play a game with her as well. So without further ado, let's dive into some of the content for today. So we're going to start off with some basics. So the very basics when we come to food, thinking about the types of food groups that we have and putting different foods into these food groups. So right from the start, let's have a look at some of the pictures that are behind me. I've got 3 major food groups, dairy, meat, and fish. And within these food groups, different foods fall into these categories. So dairy products are things that contain milk. So butter, for example, we can see in the picture there's milk. Cheese, ice cream would be an example, cream as well. Anything that contains milk is a dairy product. Then in the middle, we've got meat, and that's a source of protein in English. So we've got anything from chicken, lamb, beef, for example. All of those fall in the category of meat, and they are a source of protein. Often if we think about chicken or animals with wings, that could be called poultry as well. If you were going to be more specific and divide meat into 2 sections, you've got red meat, things such as beef, and then you've got poultry, including chicken, duck, animals that have wings, poultry. And then on the right hand side, we've got fish, and that includes any sorts of fish, so salmon, tuna, halibut, hake, cod, all of these are type of fish. Then you've also, within fish, you've got shellfish, anything that has a shell, so a prawn, mussel. A prawn is a crevette, mussels such as moule, those are your shellfish, and they come under the category of fish. Excellent. So we'll go on to our second slide, a second half of different food groups. We've got here on the left-hand side something called carbohydrates, which encompasses things such as rice, potatoes, bread. Carbohydrates are what give us energy to do the best we can in our day and have lots of energy for that day to do all our lovely activities that we get up to. In the middle, we've got fruit and vegetables, obviously our most healthy section of the food groups. Doctors advise us to have 5 fruit and vegetables a day in England. Perhaps they do the same in France too. So fruit and vegetables in the middle there. We've got a few examples. Peppers there in the middle. Grapes on the left-hand side. We've got a courgette, I can see, an apple, some carrots, lots of different fruit and vegetables out there. And then on the right-hand side, we've got fats and sugars, and that's anything that's got sugar in it, such as sweet drinks like Coca-Cola, maybe cookies, cakes, sweets, chocolate, anything that's not good for you. Is known as a fat or a sugar. However, when we think about fats and sugars, they are something that's eaten in moderation. And what I mean by that is this idea that you have a small amount of it, because if you eat too many cakes, you end up not being healthy, for example. So you can eat fats and sugars in moderation in small amounts. So now we've had a look at some of the food groups, let's dive into how to describe our food. Before we dive into this, I have a quick question for you all. After thinking about those food groups, I personally don't eat meat or fish. What do you think that I would be called? Have a little think and do write in the chat whilst we go through the next slide together, and we'll have a look at your answers at the end. So I don't eat meat or fish. What could I be called? So let's have a look at some ways we can describe foods. So on the left-hand side, we've got some great description words, some adjectives, and then on the right-hand side, I've put a definition for us. Oh, we've got some answers coming in. Claudia says a vegetarian. Yes, absolutely. So I don't eat meat or fish. That means that I am a vegetarian. If I didn't eat milk or cheese or eggs, so products that came from an animal, that would make me a vegan, but I am vegetarian because I still eat milk and cheese, etc. Okay, excellent. Let's go back to our describing food. So as I said, we've got on the left hand side some words and on the right their definitions. In terms of the left hand side, you might describe something as spicy or fiery. Spicy food is something that feels hot in our mouth, not in terms of temperature, but in terms of spice. So something that's flavoured with spice, such as chili, paprika might be a little bit spicy. So for example, you could say that chicken curry was really spicy. We've then got sweet, and this is a sugary flavour. For example, if you eat chocolate, if you eat sweets, ice cream, often the flavour of that is quite sweet. Then we've got salty / savoury. They both mean similar things. Often salty might have a negative connotation, so you might say that was too salty when there's too much salt in it. Then we've got roasted. Roasted means to cook something in the oven, so you might say I liked the roasted vegetables, for example. We've then got fried, which means to cook something in a pan with oil. So if you're frying something, you might fry an egg, for example. You put oil in the pan, you crack your egg, and you fry an egg to make a fried egg. We've then got refreshing or fresh, which means something's been recently made or obtained. So it's not from a tin, it's not frozen, it's freshly made. So you might say that was a fresh salad, for example. And then we've got delicious or tasty, appetizing, and this is a food which is good and has an enjoyable taste. So for example, that meal was delicious, or that meal was really tasty. All of these mean quite similar things. And then lastly, we've got the opposite. So if you'd like to describe something that you didn't quite like, we've got unappetizing awful, disgusting, and tasteless. It's good to point out that if you called something awful or disgusting, that's incredibly negative. So if you're with guests, I wouldn't overly advise calling their meal disgusting, because it would of course be quite rude. If you didn't like something, a more formal way to say something would be unappetizing, or potentially it was a bit tasteless. Those are slightly less extreme than awful or disgusting. And then an example here, you might say, my meal was pretty tasteless, for example, or my meal was really unappetizing for me. Okay, great. Now we've looked at some ways to describe food. I have another question for you all. Do you prefer sweet food? Claudia says, my screen is slightly blurred. I do apologise for that. I hope it's legible. I'm explaining everything that's on the screen, so if you're unable to read it properly, I am explaining it in detail, so do tune in to what it is I'm saying. I apologise for the blurry screen. I unfortunately can't change that right now. DF says he prefers sweet food. Remember that sweet has 2 E's. You prefer sweet food. Does anyone prefer savoury food? Valerian prefers savoury. Excellent, great. So we've got a real mix, a couple that prefer savoury and a couple that prefer sweet, and we've got JJVV who likes both. It's good to like both of them. I agree with you there. Good. Okay, what we'll do now is we will dive into a bit of grammar, nothing too strenuous, so nothing to worry about. We're going to look at comparative and superlative adjectives, so to describe your food. And firstly, I'm going to explain why we use these different things. So a comparative is used to compare 2 different types of food. For example, my dessert is sweeter than yours. I've taken 2 different things, my dessert and your dessert, and I've said that my dessert is sweeter than yours. And then we've got the superlative on the right hand side, and this is used to talk about something in its highest degree or quality. As you can see, I've awarded superlative a medal because it's the highest degree. So this is the sweetest dessert I have ever eaten. So out of every single dessert you've ever had in your life, this is number 1. This is the sweetest dessert. It can also be used in sort of negative connotations as well. So you could say this is the least delicious meal I have ever had. So it's the highest degree in terms of whether that's positively high or negatively high as well. The emphasis is on this idea of most. Wonderful. So let's dive into a couple of general rules before we talk about food properly again. When we're thinking about comparatives and superlatives, it's good to keep in mind that there's 3 different types. So we've got 1 syllable. So 1 syllable words are words such as small. So when I say it, if I tap small, it's just 1 syllable. We've got 2 syllable words like yummy. It's got 2 sounds there, yum-y, and 3 or more syllable words such as delicious. I've had 3 syllables there. You can clap along in your mind to help you know which words have more syllables. So delicious has more than 2, delicious 3 syllables. There's some general rules that apply to different words depending on the length of their words. So we'll quickly gloss over a couple of those rules and then look at them in practice when it comes to describing food. So on the board behind me, we've got general rules for 1 syllable adjectives. So if for most adjectives, for comparative, we simply add an ER to the adjective. For example, cheap becomes cheaper, small becomes smaller. Like my meal is smaller than your meal. We're comparing 2 things. And for the superlative, we simply add EST. So it's cheap, cheaper, cheapest, small, smaller, smallest. And as I said before, the superlative is saying something to its highest degree. So it's the most cheap or the most small or the least cheap or the least small when it comes to describing. When we've got adjectives that already end with an E, all we need to do is add an R. Very simple. So we've got adjectives such as nice or fine. You just need to add an R. So we've got nicer and finer. And for the superlative, you simply add ST. So we've got nice, nicer, nicest, fine, finer, finest. And then adjectives with one vowel. A vowel is a vowel sound such as A, E, I, O, U. And one consonant, which are all the other letters in the alphabet. All we have to do is double the final consonant and add ER. So big is B-I-G, becomes bigger. Then we've got hot. You need to add another consonant, so another T, and it becomes hotter. For the superlative, we double the final consonant and add EST. So it's big, bigger, biggest, hot, hotter, hottest. For words that are two syllables, so those that are ending in Y, we change the Y to an I and we add the ER and EST endings. So yummy, yummier, and yummiest. And that's a way to talk about, so we've got yummy, the adjective on the left-hand side, yummier, the comparative in the middle, and yummiest, the superlative on the right-hand side. Sometimes we have words, I've got ahead of myself. We'll look at some examples before I dive into longer adjectives, but we'll have a look at some of this in practice. So hopefully you can see my screen. I see a couple of you are having some issues with seeing my screen. I do apologise for that. I'll try and explain to the best of my ability so you can visualise what it is I am saying. On the left-hand side, I've got some words, so some adjectives to describe food, their comparatives, and then their superlatives. We've got adjectives such as sweet, spicy, greasy, salty, fresh, tasty, and then we've got their comparatives and superlatives. So sweet, sweeter, sweetest. If we wanted to think of some example, we could say this cake is sweet, or this cake is sweeter than I first thought, or this is the sweetest cake I've ever had. Then we've got spicy, spicier, spiciest. We could say this curry is very spicy, or this curry is spicier than the curry I had last night. We're comparing here. And then we could say this is the spiciest curry I have ever eaten. And this is this idea of starting with an adjective, then we've got the comparative form, and then the superlative form, so in its highest degree. We've then got greasy, greasier, greasiest. When we're thinking about the adjective greasy, greasy means that it's a bit oily. So often if you have a kebab, for example, the meat is quite greasy. It's not always the best quality ever. It's a bit greasy. So you might say, oh, that kebab was the greasiest kebab I ever had. I didn't really like it, for example. Then we've got salty, saltier, saltiest, fresh, fresher, freshest, tasty, tastier, tastiest. And as you can see, all of these examples are 1 or 2 syllable words. So sweet is 1 syllable, tasty is 2 syllables. Okay, now we've had a look at this, let's think about longer adjectives, because in the lovely language of English, not every word is 1 or 2 syllables. Sometimes words are 3 or even 4 syllables, such as aromatic, delicious, appetizing. All of these are more than 2 syllables. And for these, you need to form the comparative with the words more or less, and the superlative with most or least. So I've got an example on the board. This sorbet is more aromatic than your dessert. So we can't say is aromatica because it's a 3 syllable word, so we're obliged to use more. This sorbet is more aromatic than your dessert. And then in the superlative form, this is the most aromatic sorbet I have ever smelled. Aromatic is a formal word in English which means something smells very nice. I've got some examples on the board for you of some types of comparative superlatives with 3 syllables or more. Words such as delicious, refreshing, flavorful, appetizing, expensive, all use more and most or less and least. So more delicious, less delicious, most delicious, least delicious, for example. Okay, great. Now we've had a look at some comparatives and superlatives. Let's have a look at part 2 of our YouTube Live, we're going to be discussing how to order in a restaurant, which I know is a very important topic for many of you as we hopefully prepare for one day restaurants to reopen again and travel to reopen again. I've got a short video which we'll watch together, and then we'll go through some of the content together so that's clear for you.
Hi, I'm Maury. I'll be your waitress today. Can I get you anything to drink?
Just water?
Would you like bottled or regular?
Regular.
And for you?
I'll have a diet soda.
Great. I'll be right back. Have you decided what you'd like, or do you need some more time?
I'll have the grilled chicken and a dinner salad.
And what kind of dressing would you like?
What kind do you have?
Italian, blue cheese, and French.
I'll have the Italian. And can you serve that on the side?
Of course. And for you, sir?
The pepper salmon, is that very spicy?
Yes.
I don't like spicy. I'll have the steak.
And how would you like that cooked?
Medium, please.
All right, so that's chicken with salad, Italian dressing on the side, and one steak meat.
Yes.
Thank you. Be careful, it's hot. Can I get that for you?
Yes, please.
And is there anything else I can get you?
May I have a steak knife?
Of course. I'll get that right away. How is everything?
Excellent.
Very good.
Great. Are you still working on that? Or shall I wrap that up for you?
I'm done.
I'll take this to go.
Would you like a dessert menu?
Yes, please.
Would you like coffee?
Yes.
I'll have some too.
Cream or sugar?
I'd like some cream.
I'll have sugar.
Have you decided what you'd like for dessert?
I'll have the chocolate cake.
And for you?
I'll have the cheesecake.
Excellent. I'll be right back. Did you enjoy your meal?
It was wonderful.
Can I get you anything else, or should I get your check?
We'll take the check.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, I hope that gives you an indication of the sorts of ways to handle a restaurant. This is of course an American version, so if you're in the UK, the dialogue might be slightly different. We don't use the word check, for example, we use the word the bill. But on the whole, in both the US and the UK, it's still quite similar. So what we'll do is we'll go through some of the vocabulary and phrases that we heard in more detail so you feel confident when it comes to ordering at a restaurant. So we'll start off with the ordering phase and look back at some of the things that were said. So the waitress asked, "Can I get you anything to drink?" which is one of the first questions you might be asked when when sitting down at a restaurant. And there's obviously multiple answers to that depending on what you would like to drink. So you could have water, still water is without the bubbles, without the fizz. Sparkling is fizzy water, so I think gazeuse is the word. Soft drinks or soda. A soft drink and soda are the same thing. Soda is the American term for a soft drink. A soft drink includes things such as Coca-Cola, lemonade, Orangina, Fanta, all your fizzy sugary drinks. Or you could have an alcoholic drink such as wine or beer, or even a spirit with a mixer. And what I mean by a spirit and a mixer is a vodka shot with Coke or a gin shot with tonic. The mixer is the long drink, so the non-alcoholic drink, and the spirit is of course gin, vodka, rum, something that's quite high in alcohol percentage. In terms of ordering a drink, often a waitress or waiter will ask whether you want bottled or regular / tap water. Bottled water can also be called mineral water. For your reference, mineral water is also bottled water, and this is often more expensive. Tap water is usually for free. In terms of then ordering, we've got, have you decided what you would like? Are you ready to order? Or what can I get you? All three of these phrases mean exactly the same thing. The waiter or waitress has come over to check that you're ready to order your food. And there's multiple ways you can answer him or her. You could say, to start, I'll have the soup. For the main, I'll have a steak. And for dessert, I'll have a chocolate cake, for example. You can use the future simple here. I'll have, or you can use a conditional I'd like. So I'll have or I'd like both work, and they're both equally as polite as each other. And then in the video we saw that the man ordered a steak, and the waitress asked how she would like that cooked. Of course, a very important question. You don't want to order meat that isn't cooked to your liking. So rare is the least cooked. Medium rare is when it's still a bit bloody, but slightly more cooked than rare. Medium, I suppose most French people don't tend to order medium steaks, but medium is, it's only slightly pink at this point. We're verging on it being quite well cooked. And then well done steak is when it's completely cooked through, there's no blood at all. The texture of it's more chewy. Often people in the UK or the US will order this kind of steak, which I know offends many French people who much prefer to have blue rare or medium rare steaks. In terms of serving the food, the waitress said, "Is there anything else I can get you?" And the answer was, "No thank you." Or you could say, "Yes, could I have some ketchup? Could I have some mayonnaise?" She then asked, "How is everything?" halfway through the meal. A very normal question. Waitresses might check in to see if you liked everything. She'd say, "How is everything?" And you'd answer, "It's delicious, thank you. It's really good, thanks." In terms of the end of the meal, we've got, "Would you like that to go?" "Would you like that wrapped up?" So often if you haven't managed to finish a meal, you might take it away. So you could say, "Yes, I'll take that to go." Or you could say, "Could I have it in a doggy bag, please?" which means a wrap-up box in which you take the food away. We've then got, "Was everything okay for you? How was your meal?" And you answer with the past simple. It was delicious. It was really good. I really liked it. We're talking about the past because the action of eating has already finished. She then asked if you'd like to see the dessert menu. A very normal question, of course. After your main course, you might want to have dessert. And you can simply answer, "Yes, please," "No, thank you." And at the end, she asked, "Can I get you any coffee or tea?" Often at the end of the meal in Anglophone countries, you'll have a coffee or a tea, much like in France as well. In terms of paying, as I said before, there's a difference. In the US or Canada, you would call it the check. And in English, UK English, you'd call it the bill. Both mean the same thing. So you could say, "I'll take the check, please," "the bill, please," or "Can I get the check?" "Can I get the bill, please?" So that's how to order. What we'll do now is we'll invite Fanny back to our conversation, who's going to talk about some of her favourite foods with us, and we'll play a last game to wrap up some of the things we learnt today, and do feel free to join in at home as well. Hi Fanny, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Excellent, great. So we've got Fanny back with us, and I have a few questions for Fanny about her favourite foods, and then we'll play a game all together. So Fanny, tell us, what is the best meal you've ever had and why?
The best meal I have ever had was, I think it was for my 18th birthday. So we went with my family in a very fancy restaurant. And of course the food was really good, but I was also with my family, so it was a very good moment.
Excellent, that sounds good. I'm very jealous. And what is the worst meal you have ever had?
Okay, so this one is really easy. I was in Japan, and there is a meal, it is called natto. So this is fermented soybean, and this is awful. Like, this is really sticky, and I think no French people can eat that. Really horrible.
Okay, great. I've put a link on the chat for you if you'd like to have a look at what Fanny is talking about. It's fermented soybeans, so soybeans that are glued together in a sticky texture. If I got that right, Fanny, which doesn't sound overly appetizing.
No, not at all.
Okay, great. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play a game together, and you at home can also join in too. I'm going to describe a food to Fanny and you all, and then give your best guess to what food it is I am talking about. So the game is called Guess the Food. I will give a description of the food, and then I'd like you all to have a go at guessing which food I am talking about. Are you ready to go, Fanny?
I am.
Excellent, great. So, number 1. This food is originally from Italy. It has a flat base and it's covered with tomato sauce and cheese. You could choose toppings such as mushrooms, ham or pineapple, and this food is baked in the oven. Do you know what food it is I am talking about?
So you said it was from Italy, and we can put pineapple on it, so probably pizza, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. You and everyone at home has got that right as well. It is indeed pizza. You can choose whatever toppings you'd like to put on your pizza, but often made with a tomato base and then cheese. Excellent. Number 2. This dish is also Italian. The sauce is made from minced beef. Minced means cut up, so or grinded. Minced beef, vegetables and a tomato sauce, and it's served with long, thin pasta.
Okay, so I think you are talking about my favorite plate, but I'm not sure about the name in English. I think we said spaghetti meatballs, maybe something like that.
Yes, absolutely. So we could be talking about spaghetti with meatballs,
Okay.
and we could also be talking about spaghetti bolognese. Both of those are very similar. Obviously, meatballs are the small round balls of meat, whereas a bolognese sauce is when the meat is more crushed up and mixed up as a sauce, but equally both delicious. Yes, so spaghetti bolognese or spaghetti with meatballs. Okay, and lastly, let's have a go at thinking about a dessert. So, this dessert is frozen. It's made with water, fruit and sugar, and it's very refreshing.
Okay, so a frozen dessert is obviously ice cream, but you
Ooh.
also have milk maybe in ice cream, so I don't know.
A good guess indeed. So ice cream is indeed frozen, but I was talking about something that's made with water, fruit and sugar. If it's made with water as the base, we're talking about a sorbet.
Oh, okay.
Very close though. You got 2 out of 3, which is not bad at all.
Not bad.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our game, and we look forward to having you again on a YouTube live soon. Thanks, Annie.
Thank you very much, Lee. Bye.
Thanks. Great. For the last bit, we will do a recap. I realise I'm running slightly over today. I had a lot of content that I wanted to show you all. So lastly, we've got a couple of questions before we round up today. 2 more minutes of your time, I promise. So let's continue our games. Let's guess the food category. What category of food are the following? Number 1, milk, butter, cheese. Number 2, beef, lamb and chicken. And number 3, pasta, rice and potatoes. Does anyone know? Anyone got any idea? Swazik has said the first one is dairy. The second one from Claudia is meat, yes. Evelyn has said protein, yes, it is indeed a form of protein too. And number 3, carbohydrates, yes, absolutely. Well done, everyone. So we've got dairy, meat and carbohydrates. Okay, excellent. Let's now convert the following adjectives into their comparative form. If I was going to say these adjectives as a comparative, what would they be transformed into? Remember what I said about the 1 syllable and 2 syllable versus words with 3 syllables or more. Anyone got any ideas? Claudia has got the first one correct, absolutely. So we've got hotter. Anybody else have any idea? Great, some good answers from you all. Yes, absolutely, you're all on the right track. Hotter, tastier and more delicious. Hot is 1 syllable, tasty is 2. And it was a Y ending, so we changed it to IER, and delicious is more delicious. Great. And lastly, can we put these into the superlative form? The very last question of today, I promise. So we've just done the comparative, hotter, tastier, more delicious. What about the superlative form, the highest degree? Has anybody got any ideas on the last one to put them in their superlative form? We've got some answers coming in. Hottest, tastiest, and most delicious. Good job, everybody. Yes, so as I said before, 4 words with 3 syllables of more or more, we're obliged to use more, most, less, or least. Excellent work from you all today. That's it from me. We've definitely run over a tiny bit. I do apologise for taking up your evening. Thank you so much for coming. It was lovely to have you here and to have you all in the chat and involved as well. And for Fanny for being here as well. It was great to get to talk to her and to introduce you to her. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your week. Do remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share our channel with your friends. We've got a free lesson every week and we love to have you here. So thanks very much, guys, and I wish you a lovely week ahead. See you soon. Bye.